Light. I'm your host, Brother Dan Goodwin, here sitting with me. I've got a friend with me that I have known for a couple of years, Brother Kyle Smith, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing for the Lord.
Well, I'm an assistant pastor at Victory Baptist Church in Carterville, Illinois. And matter of fact, your son-in-law, I knew him when he was a teenager. And,
well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, sir.
Was he as bad then as he is now?
Well, I've managed to correct a few things in his life, so he's certainly improved over the years.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Lord allowed me to encounter him and impact him a little bit. And so we've had a connection for quite a while, even before.
You guys all came to the wedding, a whole bunch of guys from your church.
Sir.
Your pastor spoke at the wedding. And, of course, Michael, they're sitting back there. My wife runs the camera. And my daughter came today to the studio. We should get them up here. But,
oh, man.
But they're back there. Michael's back there, her husband, who you're talking about. And we joke about it. Every time something goes on in the family, I'll say, now, Michael, I remember in the office before you got married, remember what we discussed? Remember, I tried to talk you out of marrying her, but it's too late, Michael, you married her. I know what he says, I know it's too late. So, now he's a good guy. We love him. He's part of the family.
Yeah.
And,
so, I'm an assistant pastor at Victory Baptist and been on staff there for about
and who's tell them your pastor's name.
His name's Glenn Auger. Glenn Auger is the pastor there. He's been pastoring there for about 10 years now. And and so I've been on staff for about 8, and I teach in a small Christian school, and I also teach in a Bible Institute.
Right. So tell us about the Bible Institute, because that's right there at the church, right?
It is.
Tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the Bible Institute, we have about 10 students or so. It's been going on for about the 8 years that I've been on staff there, and it's just verse by verse, book by book, through the entire Bible. That's what we need. That's what churches are in desperate need of, is Bible instruction, and that's what we do.
So is there several teachers, or are you the only teacher?
Nope, there are several teachers. We got a gentleman in the church. He's actually a doctor by profession, but he's a Christian. He's one of the godliest men that I know, and he's one of the Bible instructors, as well as another assistant pastor as well named Tony Edmonds. He's also an instructor.
And these are all like Bible classes. There's no English, no
right.
theology.
Yep, no mathematics, or we're not teaching anybody how to become. We're not teaching anybody how to become an electrician. We're teaching them the book.
Well, I went to Hyles Anderson, and when we got there, we had to take a test, an English test, to find out where you were.
Okay. And
if you didn't do well, you had to take English 100. 101 is freshman, 102.
Yeah.
English 101, we called it bonehead English.
Okay.
That was when you couldn't remember the 8 parts of speech, and so you had to get a refresher class.
Yeah.
Well, I'd been out of high school since 78. I went in the Navy for 4 years.
Okay.
Then I spent another year working at a shipyard. Then I got called to preach, went to Bible class. 5 years after my last grammar class, and I'm sitting there with this test, name the 8 parts of speech. 8 parts, is there 8?
Yeah, exactly.
And, all right, noun, verb, pronoun. I passed it. I don't know how I passed, but I passed it, so I got English 101. But no English at your college.
No, sir, just the Scripture.
Folks, if you want to go to Bible college but don't want English, mathematics, science, and phys ed, and running and track meets, there you go, right here. All right. Is this members only?
It tends to be. We kind of started it with the intention of basically just teaching the people in the church, but over the years it's been generally college-age kids that have taken and signed up.
So it's mostly the membership of the church.
It is, yeah. Yes, sir.
But I guess it's not exclusive. They don't have to be.
Right, not necessarily. We've had one so far come from another church, but for the most part it's been members only.
Is there a cost?
There is, about $750 per semester.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cheap.
It is very compared to Bible colleges, absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Okay, well, I was at your church recently. Of course, we spend time with our daughter sometimes, and we'll come to your church the next day or whatever. And you happen to be teaching Sunday school, and you taught Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Revelation 13. And I sat there, and I couldn't believe it. It was wonderful. I said, here's a guy that believes like I do. And you don't have to believe like I do, but I liked what you said, and I liked how you said it.
Sure.
And so I said, we went out to eat, and I said, you know what, when we go back, I'm going to ask him to come on the show, and let's share that. And you haven't written a book. You're nobody famous. Nobody
absolutely not.
Watching probably ever heard of Kyle Smith.
No.
And when you get done watching, you'll wish you never heard of Kyle Smith. But no, I'm kidding. But no, they're going to wish you'd written something when we get done. So we're going to discuss in the program this week. We're going to discuss the statue in Daniel 2. The wild beasts that are explained in Daniel 7, which is basically the same story, just different dream. We're going to discuss that, and why don't you whet their appetite? This is just a little preview.
Sure.
Tell them a little bit about what we're going to discuss.
Well, when you look in Daniel chapter number 2, what you're going to find here is a dream that God gives to a pagan king that details the future of kingdoms of the world. And God used Daniel to not only tell the king what dream it was that he dreamed, but also what the dream meant. And what Daniel said in about 550 or so.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why didn't the king, what do you think is the significance of the king not even remembering his own dream? Is there anything you ever picked out of that? I've never thought about that.
Yeah, well, I tend to think that maybe the king did remember what he dreamed, and he was
a test.
Suspicious of the wise men.
He knew it wasn't from an outside spiritual source.
Right.
If they couldn't tell him what to dream. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Absolutely. And so Daniel tells him what he dreamed, and then he also told him what the interpretation was. And Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream has echoed down through the centuries and proven right from the very beginning.
And every prophecy student of the Bible knows about the statue. We've all seen a picture of the statue. The statue of a man with the gold head.
Absolutely.
And of course, if you use PowerPoint, you can teach the lessons from that half the time if you got a PowerPoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you don't have to explain everything. They can see it on the screen. But
yes, sir.
So we're going to talk about that. What else?
Well, Daniel chapter 2 corresponds with Daniel chapter 7, where God gives Daniel a dream or a vision about the coming kingdoms. And this time, instead of what we're going to find out, instead of metals used to picture the coming kingdoms, God uses beasts to describe them. And both of these things correlate with what we find out later on in Revelation chapter 13.
Yeah. So why is the dream different for Daniel?
Well, I tend to think, and I'm not the first one to say this, but I tend to think that in Daniel chapter 2, the way God described the coming kingdoms, he used metals to describe what it is the kingdoms represent. So what I mean is, you've got a kingdom that's represented by gold, a kingdom represented by silver, and then brass, and then iron, and each of those have some sort of a value. And this is all through Nebuchadnezzar. He's the one who dreamed the dream, and it was God giving that to that king. And the image was of precious metals. Whereas in Daniel chapter 7, it's been said, and I'm not the one to say this, but it's been said that the reason why they're described as beast is because in Daniel chapter 2, that's from Nebuchadnezzar's perspective.
Perspective.
From man's perspective. And in Daniel chapter 7, that's from God's perspective. When man sees kingdoms, he sees precious, valuable things. Whenever God sees the kingdoms of this world, beasts.
Yeah, when Nebuchadnezzar was told, "Thou art the head of gold."
Yeah.
You can feel his chest swelling.
Absolutely.
Wow, yeah, I'm the head of gold. I'm somebody.
Absolutely.
That's the way man looks at the kingdoms of the world, as precious metal, power too. Power.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has the dream. You've got head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, and then feet of iron and clay mixed. Now, Daniel,
and the toes the 10 toes.
And then he mentions the toes.
Okay.
And then here's what I want the viewers to know. There's no guesswork as to what these metals represent. The scripture tells you. In Daniel chapter 2, down in verse number 38, the last sentence in the verse. Thou art this head of gold. So Nebuchadnezzar is the head of gold, and of course he's the king of the kingdom of Babylon. So he's the head of gold. There's no question about that.
Yep.
Then, verse 39, after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. Well, we go over to Daniel chapter 5, and what happens? Belshazzar loses the kingdom to the kingdom of, at the time, Media Persia, which then morphs into just Persia. Mm-hmm. So the first kingdom is Babylon. The second kingdom is Persia. And I'm not guessing this. I'm not the one who's determining this. That's what the scripture says.
Right. Yep.
And then it says, and another third kingdom of brass. So after Persia would be another kingdom represented by the brass. And again, I don't have to guess what this kingdom is. Daniel chapter number 8 tells us. When he gives there the vision of the ram and the he-goat, he tells you in that chapter, the ram is Persia, Media Persia, and the he-goat is Greece. Mm-hmm. And that the he-goat would smash that ram with great choler, is what the scripture said, with great heat, with great power.
And that's a world leader that all of us are familiar with.
Absolutely. Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
So Greece would overthrow...
Wasn't he like 19 years old? He was a kid.
He was young. Yeah. Brilliant tactician, rather. So Greece, by way of Alexander, would overthrow the Persian Empire, as prophesied here by Daniel. And then he says in verse number 40 of Daniel 2, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. And then he describes there that iron kingdom. He says it's the fourth kingdom. And in that Sunday school lesson, what I was really wanting to stress was the future kingdoms to come, but there's not 5 kingdoms listed here. He says the fourth kingdom in verse number 40, and then he just kind of moves down to the feet. And there's obviously a metamorphosis that takes place. That kingdom loses some of its stability, it transforms, and then you have a kingdom of iron and clay mixed, which becomes unstable. But it's not a 5th kingdom. It's the 4th kingdom.
Kind of a revived 4th kingdom.
Exactly, a revived 4th kingdom. And you don't really see in Daniel or even in the Old Testament the transition of power from Greece to Rome. But what do you find out? After that Old Testament, you start reading the New Testament. What kingdom's in power?
That's right.
Rome.
Yep.
Luke chapter number 2, Augustus makes a decree, right?
Well, let's stop right there because this is stuff we want to bring out in the show to come. And we'll get to Daniel 7. We'll talk about some interesting things about Revelation 13 that talks about these same kingdoms. And so let's do that. We'll shut it off here. I do want to tell the folks watching that I have a Revelation study guide in my hand. And many of you have this probably already. Some of you do. A lot of what he's talking about is right here. I have a chart in here, as a matter of fact. Got a chart on page 56 that lists the four kingdoms he's talking about. And that revived kingdom, it's here somewhere. Here it is. And I show the world kingdoms from Daniel 2, Daniel 7, and Revelation 13. So you can go to Protestant Spotlight, go to the bookstore. You can find that if you'd like to take a look at that. I think it'd be a help to you. And don't forget, if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit that red button right down there on the right-hand bottom of your screen. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell if you want to get alerts. We come on about twice a week on YouTube. And we don't have guests very often. I think you're our second guest that we've had.
Oh,
wow. We had another Smith a few weeks ago, Spencer Smith. I know you know Brother Spencer, but you're not related in any way. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. No, Brother Spencer did a great job. We had some great shows with him. And so hit the subscribe button. Hey, share this if you like what you see here, if you like what you hear. Share this with your social media people and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff out there. And okay, well, on that note, we're gonna get ready. We're gonna do the show, and we'll see you all on the next show to come. We're gonna hit a lot more on the show coming up. So until then, keep your eyes on the sky.